unfortunately, well, we can't go cycling this weekend if it's going to rain like this.
No, it's starting to take a turn for the worse, my friend.
I think it is. I think it is. Yeah, which is it's a shame because it's been so nice, you know. And we were actually up like might have made it last week, but I think you were otherwise engaged last Sunday when Stan and I went out.
Oh yeah, I was. Where was I? Oh, I had a training session.
Yeah, you had a training session, so you couldn't come up. But we just cycled. I think pretty much the same as you guys did the day before. But we went into Fort Langley, and then rode around there a little bit, and then waited for the coffee stop to open, and then we went for a couple of cups of coffee and a bit of a chat, you know. So it was quite nice.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I went. Was it last Saturday? I forget what day it was. It was either last Saturday or whatever day. But I was bugging Stan to come with me because I was like, hey man, like the weather's gonna be nice, so let's go. And I was already halfway through, so I was up, like, you know how we go up in behind Rollis and Crescent there?
Yes.
So I was already up and behind there, and I literally pulled over to take a picture because the Golden Ears is behind me, so it was beautiful. And then literally my phone rang, and Stan was like, "Where are you?" I said, "Well, you got some catch up to do, bud, because I'm already halfway through." So he's like, "All right, I'll meet you at the coffee shop." I'm like, "Yeah, I knew you'd say that."
Exactly. Yeah, but he was in good form. You know, I think he's obviously working very hard at the moment. You know, he said he's just in and out there, he's away from the place, you know.
Yeah, he's any time away from the lab for him is probably much appreciated. Has it been crazy for you guys too?
It has. It has been absolutely nuts, especially surprisingly on the denture front.
Is that right?
That has really, really increased a lot. And you know what? I think a lot of it's to do with the fact that a lot of the really good, great denture technicians of the past are starting to retire.
Yeah, I see that.
I think with COVID, they've just said, "Hey, I've just had enough. I'm 60 plus." But they're all the skills, you know. I mean, the digital dentures, they're coming along. Yeah. But I think you still need a little bit of the old-fashioned skill. You know, you can't do without that. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why we picked up a few extra clients. It's been good.
And that's interesting. I mean, we're, of course, we're already diving into shop talk, which is what we do. So in terms of and I've run into this for the last 7 or 8 years where, you know, I'd go into a denture clinic or I'd go into a lab and they'd say, you know, hey, keep your eye out for us. Let us know if you come across a good denture technician. And it seems very difficult to find anyone who's competent. Well, I shouldn't say competent, but some good skilled technicians who know how to make a proper denture, like the traditional way.
Yeah. I think so, because, you know, I think when you're in the college now, you know, the fact of sitting there with some old wax and a few teeth, sticking them in position isn't as sexy as, you know, building up a crown or milling a denture or whatever, you know. So I think the people come out that just don't want to do it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Out who want to do it, you know, probably want to work for themselves as a denturist rather than in a lab, you know, and you know, throwing teeth under wax all the time.
Yeah.
So definitely changing, you know, really is, and it's exciting to look at the digital side of it, though, Tyler, as well. I mean, the digital side. I mean, you obviously see a hell of a lot of that, you know, and it's interesting to see how those digital dentures are coming along. You know, it really is fantastic stuff. And once they get the aesthetics a little bit better of those things, wow, my goodness, I think we're going to be in for something pretty good.
Yeah, and it with digital dentures, I've seen this sort of from the genesis to where we are today. And I'd say when the Trios became big and, you know, I was selling the Trios and then it was exciting because we started selling the CEREC and they broke the system apart. So I really liked that the CEREC was a little bit more sort of broken apart, and you could, now the labs, they were really trying to work with labs on that front too. But going back a few years when I was selling scanners back in the day, I just want to make sure we're not missing any guests. It's just you and I here so far.
No, yes.
Mark might join us a little bit late today, but the debate for me, I would go to some of my denturists who were doing a lot of dentures, and I'd say, you know, What's your take on this? What do you think about scanning for edentulous? And 5 or 6 years ago, it was always like, man, like scanning edentulous, like, I don't know how you're going to do that. Like, how are you going to account for the movement of the tissue? Have you seen like with the intraoral scanners nowadays, like scanning edentullously, like is that a thing now, or is it still kind of like is there kind of an evolution there?
Well, when you do talk to the to the people who are having the most critical chats about digital dentures, is exactly what you just mentioned, the soft tissue.
Yeah.
Because the old sort of fashioned way of sort of taking an impression, taking a border molding was really, really important for the retention of the denture. You didn't encroach on anything that you're not supposed to encroach on. So a lot of people are saying that because you can't do that, digital dentures aren't going to be yet, as sort of as good as they should be. So that's a huge debate right at the moment about the pressure on the tissue.
Right. So border molding. So can you just walk me through that process? Like what is border molding, and why is that different than denture scanning edentullously?
Well, a border molding is you would normally take a special tray and or a sort of custom made tray of the upper denture.
Yeah.
You would put around the edge of that maybe like an old green stick or soft and Bunsen, put it around, or you can probably use an impression material.
Yeah.
And then you would push that home around the sort of edge of the tissue, around where all the muscles are, and that would pick up exactly where the denture should finish into the sulcus.
Okay, that makes sense, because there's kind of a bit of a gray area there, right?
Yeah, it puts a little bit of pressure on there, just to give it that little bit of that suction that you need at the very end of it.
Right. And it's hard, if you're going directly from a scan into actually milling or printing a denture, it's probably hard to figure that part out, right? Like, is it going too high up into the sulcus? Like, is that the issue that people are running into when they're going strictly into dental or digital?
I believe so. I believe that is an issue. How much pressure can you put on there? Do you have putting enough? Are you putting too much? And I think this is where the skilled old denture guys knew exactly what to do. And I think this is where. But I'm sure the companies must be working on it, because it is a point. It is a point of issue. So they definitely must be working on it.
The tissue is the issue.
The tissue. But it's quite a thing, because it was it's very, very well taught in the dental schools still, border molding, and especially with the prosthodontists, and it's still something which is still done. And when you're a technician, you have to pour the model a correct way to be able to get that border molding in the right place and finish it denture in the right place as well.
Absolutely.
If I see Graz is fully successful, I believe.
To be successful, yeah. Sorry, sometimes I'm a little bit delayed, David. I don't mean to interrupt you. I see Graz has joined us. How are you, Graz?
How are you?
Good. Am I saying your name right? Is it Graz?
Yes, this is Graz. Yep.
Awesome. Welcome to the Dentist on Demand podcast. As you see, David and I we usually jump right into our denture lab talk pretty quickly. So excuse us if we go off on tangents.
That's okay. Don't believe anything he says.
I never do, so it's okay.
That's all we talk about, Tyler and I. We don't talk about anything else. We're really boring.
We're dental geeks, right?
Yes, yeah.
Just a dental geek. So Graz, just to kick things off, welcome to the Dentist on Demand podcast. As everyone, I'm hoping, knows by now, I'm Tyler. Mark might join us a little bit later, and I'm super pumped to have you guys on. So we've got Graz and David Bird from Frontier Dental Lab. So Graz, you're the general manager, I believe.
Yes, I'm a general manager at Frontier Dental at the moment. So
fantastic. Yeah, and David, what's your role at Frontier these days?
My role is my title is Director of Business Development. Okay. So really, trying to sort of get out there, build some relationships. Of course, build up the business, for Graz and a team over there. Sort of in meeting with strategic partners and people who can help us develop our business.
Absolutely, that's really cool. So what I'd like to just jump in. So we'll probably keep this to, I don't know, like half an hour, 40 minutes today. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know how crazy busy you guys are. I just sort of wanted to, because I never really got the chance in my distribution days to work closely with Frontier. So I just want to take a couple steps back and can you guys tell me, Graz or David, like what's the story of Frontier?
Well, I think David would be better to talk about that because I've only joined the company in 2018, so I'm kind of afresh to the whole business.
Sure.
Over here. So I think David would be better to just tell more about the Frontier story.
Yeah, no problem. I can, because I'm the old guy. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm the one who's
I'm not far behind you, David. So just always on the old guy jokes.
That's right. Well, the history of Frontier is it began. It was born in Sacramento, California, I believe, back in 1982, and they followed at the particular time a lot of the American Academy for Cosmetic Dentistry, PAC Live, all the different sort of smile design courses, all the smile design gods who were around at that particular time got involved very, very early on, and that's really where they built a lot of their business in the cosmetic world of the actors, the rock stars, all that type of stuff. And then slowly but surely they built a brand around that. So they have the Frontier brand. And then I think it must be now about, I would say about 10, maybe 10 plus years ago, Frontier sold out, and it then took another move when they opened a laboratory in Vancouver, and that started from scratch. And so they introduced through their teaching academy, which at the time was called CCADS, some teaching sessions for dentists here in Vancouver from Canada.
And when did they start doing that?
Then taught a lot. They started doing that, I think that was probably about 12 to 15 years ago now when they started doing that. And that opened things up here in Canada, and the lab in Canada grew and grew and grew. So at the moment, we have two large labs with Frontier. We have the one in Sacramento, California, and we have the one that Graz runs in Vancouver. And they're still doing the same thing. The brand is on those large smile design cases.
Okay. So that's still their forte then. So they're really about cosmetic smile design.
Yes, that's their forte. They're still pushing the brand of that. They're still well involved with ACD, not PAC Live anymore, but still ACD. They've won a lot of medals, and that's where Frontier have sort of really, pitched the store right there.
Yeah, and because I have a couple of clients in Vancouver, and they do, like, I see the Frontier bags in there, and I of course because my connection with you, and I do see they're sending their anterior cosmetic cases to you guys. So the brand is alive and well in Vancouver, that's for sure.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
That's fantastic.
Thanks to Graz.
Thanks to Graz. She's killing it over there. So Graz, what's your story? Tell us about you.
Oh dear, where do I start? Well, I'm originally from Poland. I lived in England for 15 years, and then I decided I wanted to change something in my life. So I came to Canada. I got a job with Frontier, and I loved it ever since. So I've been doing little things. I mean, I started, I trained classically, I started even with dentures. Then I moved to Crown and Bridge. I was doing wax, metal work. I was doing ceramics for 3 years. And then I moved on to a CAD/CAM. So I wanted to know as much as possible about CAD/CAM, and that's why I got a job. That's why I got a job in Frontier. They actually originally employed me as a CAD/CAM technician in 2008, and then thanks to David, actually, he found me in England.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah.
You met each other in England? Hold on a sec. Back the boat up here.
No. We didn't meet in England. I applied for a job on Indeed.
Oh, I see. Okay, got it.
Yeah, and then, but I actually worked with David's friend in Newcastle. So kind of, connection was kind of there. And then obviously he called his friend for, to ask about me, and his friend called Mick. he said, oh yeah, well, grass is fantastic, obviously.
Right.
So, so David decided to just bring me here. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up in Canada.
And so just to go back
So
to,
yeah, and then after,
sorry, there's always a delay here, so my apologies. So you were a tech in England, and then you saw the opportunity to come to Vancouver and work. And now you said they brought you in as a CAD CAM tech initially.
yes, because the advert was, we're looking for a CAD/CAM technician, and I thought, well, I know CAD/CAM, so I will apply.
Mm-hmm.
So I came as a CAD/CAM technician, and after 3 months, I got promoted to a technical manager, and then after another 6 months, I got promoted to general manager. So I think I'm doing well if I got 2 promotions in 6 months, right?
That's fantastic. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's a question. So I was in Germany in either 2017 or 2018, and I got to hang out with some of the technicians from Henry Schein there and seeing what they were doing. And this was right sort of when printers started to really take off. So when I was with these guys in Germany, they were installing all these printers called Rapid Shape, which we didn't have here in North America yet, at least not in Canada. And Rapid Shape was all the buzz. And that was like a good 3 or 4 years ago. Would you say that on a CAD CAM level, like, is Europe or where you were before, whether it was England or Poland or wherever, like, are they just a little bit further ahead on digital? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think they are much ahead.
Okay. I was trying to be polite there, but I thought when I was there in Germany, I was like, wow, these guys are like, they're talking about Rapid Shape, and we're just trying to figure out Formlabs back in Canada. I think then I don't think we even had Formlabs yet, but at that point, like, these technicians were going in and they were cross-trained in all these digital, like, they could install dental chairs and lights, but then they were going in, they were installing printers along with all this other equipment. And I'm like, we don't do that in Canada.
Yeah, when I first came, I felt like I actually went back 5 years with the technology from where I moved on from England, because I actually worked with Rapid Shape D40 before I came here. Okay. And even the software, design software that I was working with was kind of few steps ahead with the updates. So when I first started in front of that computer over here, I thought, well, I need to go back in time a little bit.
Right. Yeah. A couple upgrades ago, right?
Yes, exactly.
And do you see that as well, David? Like when because I know that you pop back to the island every once in a while. You fly across the pond there every once in a while. So when you talk to your colleagues in England, do you notice that as well a little bit?
Yes, I do. Graz is absolutely spot on. We are a little bit behind what they're doing in Europe, and I think that's one of the huge things when Graz first arrived with us, that we did notice how much she knew about stuff that wasn't even here yet.
Right. That
we were just starting to use over here, and I think that's a huge reason why she's done so well.
Well, that must be a huge asset in the lab to say, she knows what's going to happen before it comes to Canada. Well,
she does, and even before it sort of hits the dental office, Graz has had experience of it already back in the UK, and and as you mentioned, Germany and the whole of Europe, Ivoclar and Liechtenstein and all those places. I mean, they really are pushing, and that's where everything is sort of released and used. And sometimes we're a little bit slow here in getting stuff, approved. Through the various people who have to approve it. It seems to happen a little bit quicker in Europe.
Yeah, and I think that obviously, I think Health Canada is trying to do the best they can,
of course,
to get products approved in a timely manner. But man, oh man, like, it's the regulatory on these things. It seems to me like Europe adopts things first, at least from what I see in the Western Hemisphere, is that Europe adopts things first, and then the US is not too far behind, and then Canada is kind of like, well, yeah, everyone else is doing it, so we're going to jump on board with this too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cool. So Frontier, so full service, you guys do pretty much everything. I mean, cosmetic is sort of where it's at for you guys, but you guys do pretty much everything. Is that correct, Graz?
Yeah, I mean, we specialize obviously in smile designs, because as David mentioned, we developed a Frontier Smile, which is our brand. Okay. But we do everything. We do implants, dentures, night guards, you name it, we do it. We do lots of combination cases, implant bars, anything, literally.
You name it. You're getting
Yeah.
a text there, just so you know.
Yeah, sorry.
You're in demand.
I hope this is not live. You can just delete it.
That's Graz on demand.
It's Graz on demand. She's being pulled in many directions. So is there something about the Frontier Smile? Like you guys have branded it the Frontier Smile. Is that correct?
Yes, we have our own brand, it's Frontier Smile. So, well, technically we specialize in smile design. So we work closely with our clients from the stage one. We plan the treatment, we do diagnostic wax up, and we can even do digital diagnostic wax up so that they can show the patient. We can import the picture of the patient and on the screen and just show them how would that look like in your mouth. Mm-hmm. It's not really fully yet perfected because the teeth that we have on the screen are bright white, so the patients might get scared. Oh, I don't want a white teeth like that.
Of course, yeah.
But they don't understand that this is not about the shade; it's about the whole looks, right? But we're working on it. But it's not our fault per se. It's the software that we're working with. So hopefully that will get somehow upgraded, hopefully in the near future.
Yeah, I think there's I think the Trios might have shade detection now. So I think that, like you say, everything's a little bit slow to come to Canada. So I think that it might be in the data capture component. When the dentist is doing the scan, it might detect shade and maybe help populate that into the software. But I don't work with 3Shape, so that would probably be a CAD/CAM specialist question on the sales side of things.
Well, when dentists send an intraoral scan for Trios, they can actually send us the shade, so the software detects the shade.
Okay.
We can't input the shade into our lab design.
Right.
So it's kind of the two softwares don't communicate.
Well, and wouldn't that be something that the dentist would say, hey, you know what, I'm in charge of the shade. You know what, like these, like I have final say on the shade, or I mean, who knows, right? But yeah. I'm just spitballing at this stage in the game. But if you just say, hey, you know what, this is what the teeth are going to look like. We're going to hand it back to your dentist and they're going to have final say on what the shade is going to be on this.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, when you're a patient and you don't really know much about the digital designs, then right. You don't understand what you're looking at, right? Yeah. All you can see is a bright white teeth.
Do you have patients coming into the lab to do custom shading, or is it all done digitally, remotely?
No, yeah, we have custom shading and custom staining. Sometimes when we're just doing one single front tooth, the patients want to come here to have a final staining before we actually send it to the dentist. Mm-hmm. So then they can decide, okay, well, I'm happy with the shade. That's fine. Well, let's finalize it. So we still do.
Got you. Yeah, because I the reason I ask that is because sometimes I'll have conversations with my friends who are not in dental, and there's the patients who have never had an intraoral scan before, and then there's patients that have had an intraoral scan before, whether it's a Trios, CEREC, any like Plan Mecca, there's so many scanners now. And I remember when a friend of mine saying this to me about 3 or 4 years ago, and he said, Tyler, they have these things now. They're like wands, and they go into your mouth and they scan and they create this digital copy of your teeth. He's like, do you know they have these? And I'm like, yeah, I might sell them. And so for him, it was such a paradigm shift in dental. He was like, why would anyone ever not have that scan done versus an impression? Because he hates impressions. He doesn't, it was such a huge shift for him. So when you're having patients come into the lab for a custom shade, for example, do you find that, like when you explain the process to them, that maybe the dentist has done a scan and they're like, man, like, are they kind of blown away by the technology?
Yes, they are actually, because they don't really know about the digital dentistry that much, because it's not something that you would search on YouTube, right?
Right.
Because if you don't know about it, you don't search it, and then they go to the dentist, they take the scan, and oh wow, it was such a good experience. I didn't feel anything, and what's I think the most difficult thing for the patients was the impression material was going down the throat.
Yeah.
With the scanner, you don't obviously have that, so they feel more comfortable. The only thing that I would say, because I had to have a scan done as well on myself, and just the head of the scanner, when they were trying to scan the back teeth, it was just stretching my mouth. But I think they bring in a smaller size head now, so since I had it done, there's probably upgraded as well. So
right.
Yeah.
So David, when you guys capture the scan and the patient set, or the dentist sends you the file for the scan, you can pretty much do anything digitally with, I guess you guys can probably import like a CBCT scan. You can import the scan of the teeth as well at the same time. Can you do pretty much anything with that digital file?
Yes, yes, you can. And certainly if things go to the lab, for surgical stents and stuff like that, if there's a CBCT scan needed, then there is software available that we can sort of plan implants, make the surgical guides if needed, and all that type of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we can do from those scans. Yeah. And as Graz mentioned now, night guards, COISTI programmers, aligners, all sorts of different things. Although we don't do aligners in our lab, but we do night guards and COISTI programmers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But really, when I'm out and about, it's very interesting how many dentists are still sitting on the fence when it comes to digital.
Right.
They just don't want to jump off that fence yet.
Yeah.
And jump into it. And I think, if they don't jump off that fence and get into it and miss the bus, my goodness, it's going to be a long walk to get back on that bus again.
The walk of shame.
Yeah, because it's happening, and we had a really good show with the Prime Scan. Graz organised it in the lab the other week, and I went in to have a look, and what a piece of kit that is! My goodness gracious,
that is a great scanner.
Oh, my goodness, if that's the way that things are going, the dentistry is going to be so different in the future.
Yeah.
Goodness,
and when that scanner came out, that's why I was sort of double clicking on the edentulous, edentulous scanning, because I think that is, and I try to be unbiased. Obviously, I love the Prime Scan. I think it's great. We sell it. But I try to be open-minded and say, look, all the scanners have their attributes. But with the Prime Scan, it was one of the first ones that was really marketed as a scanner that could scan edentulously.
Yeah.
And it was fast.
Yes, it's unbelievably fast.
Yeah. And
clear and everything. And just everything that they put in there is it just makes common sense. They haven't tried to overcomplicate it. They've tried to make it pretty easy to use, right?
Yeah.
And I think the complications of the whole thing do scare some of the dentists away from it. And what we've found is that it's been great, because it's Frontier we're sort of trying to build our business that we can communicate with the dentist. A lot of dentist labs, they can be quite antagonistic with each other.
Right.
But with Frontier, we've tried to make that communication between Graz and the clients just run so smoothly. And with the digital, we can do that. It really brings it on a lot more than what it used to be with scanning, with all the images you can do now, all the things you can do.
Yeah. And we talk about that. David, I think you hit the nail on the head when it comes to ease of use, because what are we all used to? We're all used to this, right? Yeah. So this device has changed things for us in dental, because like you say, I think that the company that makes the scanner the easiest to use is going to win. And we can see, right? Like there's 50 companies making scanners, for example. Well, there's really only 5 or 6 that are leading the charge, because they're really focused on making the interface something that isn't intimidating. They're trying to make it really easy to use. And when I get into this technology with people, I just say, look, you're going to want something that's easy for not just you, but easy for your team to use. It should be intuitive. You should be able to pick it up, turn it on and scan, or know how to send the file. It should really walk you through how to take a scan and get it over to Frontier. And you guys are there as great support to make sure that the dentist knows how to do that. But when it comes to technology, I think you're totally right. It needs to be something like an iPhone, where you see the icons, scan, boom, okay. Scan the bite. Okay, I can scan the bite next.
Yeah. Yeah, simply because, things can, the communication, it can be so complicated and so difficult to use that, things get lost in the communication. They're coming back and forth and all that type of stuff. And it's but to have something that's simple, bing, bang, straight in, that's really what we need to speed things up. And then people will be jumping off that fence, and they won't be as scared of it as the worst here, right? The first person to come up with that is going to be, they're going to get a lot of it.
They're going to capture a lot of the market. So this question's for both of you. So if I'm a new dentist, I just moved to Vancouver, I just set up my practice. I'm like, okay, what lab do I work with? I need a lab. I need an implant company. I need a supplier. Who do I call? Like, do you get these calls from dentists quite often where they're like, hey, I don't know what scanner to use. I don't know what implant to go with. Like, how does that process work for you guys?
That's normally goes to Graz, because she is such an expert in that field. She knows about all that type of stuff. So that's a really good question, I think, for Graz.
Yeah, I actually get quite a few calls with the dentist that just say, look, someone recommended you. Can you tell me, I'm planning to buy a scanner. Can you advise me on which one? So obviously I can't, say you have to get this one or you have to get that one. So I need to know about, different scanners, what the difference is, what would I recommend, and how do they connect with us? And, I kind of guide them through the from step 1 to the step 5, right? Okay, well, you have to do this. When you get the scanner, contact me. I'll tell you how to connect and all this. And with the implants, well, if they don't really know much about scanning, then obviously we have to explain to them about the scan bodies, how they work, how to take scans, and just general information about all the companies the main companies that are there. So I can actually say, okay, well, you have to use Straumann, or you have to use Nobel, or you have to use this. I have to tell them, okay, well, this company does this, but the other company does that. So it kind of keeps me on my toes to make sure that I know all the latest updates on different kind of things that come out right now on the market. So
there's a lot you have to know.
I know.
It's like, it's one thing like on the distribution side for us, but like for you guys on the lab, like you're making the prosthetics, but you also have to know, okay, well, we've got like these 10 implant companies, like you say, where like, well, here's what these guys do, but these guys do a little bit differently. And this might be a good fit for you, but I don't like, that's probably a fine line there, who you recommend. You can say, here's what they all do. I'm not going to make the choice for you because they don't want to come back on me, I guess.
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean, I can give my recommendation on what would I choose for myself, or what would I choose if that was like, let's say, my mom. And then they can make a decision themselves. Okay, well, if she would choose this for her family member, then maybe I should go with them. But I don't like it. I prefer what the other company is doing, so I will go with the other company. So I can kind of force their decision, but I can't say, well, do what you want. I will give them my recommendation, and I say, well, I would choose it for myself. Now, if you think this fits for you as well, then I would go for that, right?
And it probably comes down to what they do, like the majority of the work they do, right? And I mean, let's face it, like there's so many great implant companies. They all make, like, all the products are great. But like you say, right? Like Nobel might do it. Their workflow looks like this. Straumann looks like this. BioHorizons looks like this. They all are great, but you seem to like this workflow here's the type of dentistry you do. So it seems like it might be a BioHorizons thing. That's at least my outsider take on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think just to go a little bit further from that, with like what we found with our clients, and what I found personally over the years with owning my own lab, is that the clients grow to really trust what you say.
Right.
If they're looking for some advice, they really trust Graz in the lab there. They'll call her, and they will really go with anything that she would probably be more hesitant to say, yeah, that's my favorite, because that's what they do. And it's the same with everything. It's the same with the new material, the new impression material they're going to use. They'll call the lab. What do you think of it? What do you think of this?
Yeah, and it's so critical for you guys, because like, not just like the concept of, if I'm a dentist and I want to jump into doing implants, for me, like that's a big jump, right? Like I think that knowing that you have a partner that you're working with, like you guys, like Graz, that I can call up and say, hey, I got this, I've done 10 implants, this one, I haven't quite seen a case like this yet. I'm a little nervous, having someone in your corner that you trust is got to be huge for them.
Definitely, definitely. And I think a lot of the time, even Graz will even hold the hand to the procedure. She'll even walk them through it. She'll even, prep the study model if needed be. Anything to be able to help them, because it can be difficult to do some of these big smile designs, and people get nervous about it. But Graz can show them a step-by-step procedure to get through that and be predictable every single time.
Yeah, predictable. That's the buzzword. That's the key word we're looking for right here.
It is exactly right.
Yeah.
I think especially when people's time now, they don't want to be going back and forward all the time, back and forth to the doctors all the time, and they want to get things done. They want to know how long it's going to take and how many steps it's going to take to do it. And that's what they're going to do, and you understand what they're getting done. And when they come to the lab for a shade, they go, "Wow, I can't believe this. This is what goes behind making that crown. It's not just something a dentist takes out of the drawer."
Right.
This is what we do. Look at this.
There's some big machines in here making a lot of teeth, right?
Right. And this is why we're paying so much for it, because look what goes behind it.
Well, and even just the upgrades and the technology that you guys need to invest in. I mean, you guys need scanners, you need mills, you're constantly having to update your software. I mean, when does it end?
It quite simply doesn't, because it's moving so quickly.
Yeah.
Especially at the moment.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on printer technology? And that question's for both of you. That's a really open-ended question.
Well, 3D printing is amazing. I love it. We actually just got a new 3D printer last week. So we started full-on models production from intraoral scans, printed night guards. So we're trying to get as digital as possible. And even with the model production, there's 29 models. I have it printed within 1.5 hours. And if you had a technician that has to cast in stone 29 models, he has to wait for them to set, he has to trim them. It's just so time consuming comparing to the 3D printing. I just love it.
So much more efficient, right?
Yeah.
And again, that's one of those things where you got the machine. How long until you can get all the materials? And the holdup is always with Health Canada, right? And I certainly don't say anything about Health Canada. I know that they're doing what they can to get as many materials approved as fast as humanly possible. But it is frustrating sometimes when you're like, you know what, the denture resin, that's a good example, right? So people have been bugging me for denture resin for years, where they're like, when can I start printing dentures? And I'm like, I got the machine, I just don't have the material. I'm sorry, it's not me, it's Health Canada. I don't talk to them. And that's just in that specific case, I think the denture material is ready now. I think people are starting to use it. But yeah, like you got to have the machine, but then you got to have the materials to put in it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, for now we just have to work with what we've got. But I think that resin is available in Europe right now. It's approved in Europe. So just a few other materials that are available over there, but not here. So I think that's another point of Canada being a little bit behind.
Yeah, it sounds like, I think there's somebody weed whacking outside my window here. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
My mic is very sensitive. I can't hear it outside my mic. I could just hear it. I'm like, is there somebody weed whacking in your lab? What's going on there? It's actually outside my window.
Yeah. But just to Graz's point there as well about and you're mentioning printers. We were just talking before Graz came online about the shortage of denture technicians.
Right.
The beautiful thing about the printer now is that you can print night guards, can print all the stuff that those denture technicians who we can't get anymore used to do. So it's huge. I absolutely love it. I mean, it really is great for the future, for the ease for the dentist. Especially with the materials, and especially when you're in the lab and you're having to, sometimes make the old-fashioned night guard the old-fashioned way, with a metal flask, plaster of Paris,
right.
Boil it out, mix this horrible methyl methacrylate smelling.
Breathe in the bad air
all the time,
Yeah.
And so it's the future.
It's changing so fast. And so what are denture technicians or even technicians in general, are they? What they're getting trained on must be changing dramatically.
Well, I believe it is. When you talk to the people in the colleges, then I bring in the scanners, the printers, all that type of stuff. So the people coming out aren't really qualified as much anymore in doing with the hands, rather than doing it with the fingers and a mouse.
It's all on the computer. Yeah,
changing a lot. And I believe now for the first time there is a module coming in for the RDT exam, which will involve some digital stuff as well.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Things are changing.
Things
Before I've taken up so much of your time, I really thank you so much for being on this with me, both of you. It's been very enlightening to hear just to hear what's happening in the lab world for you guys is always really interesting for me. Before we start to wrap things up here, what do you think? And this is, again, I'm throwing this out to either one of you. What does the future look like? What do you think the next big, like, we're kind of in the middle of a huge transition that's been going on for the last few years. Now that we're having all the materials and machines to do everything, what do you think is going to be the next biggest shift in dentistry?
Well, obviously, I think we're getting into more digital world, and we are at the beginning of Industry 4.0, which is another industrial revolution, which will obviously hit the dentistry as well. And I've noticed the old-fashioned dentists who don't really like digital technology, they kind of close to retiring, and the new dentists, they all about digital. So I think the next stage is like David said, like, reduce the staff and increase the machines, right? That's what I think. Right.
And it's not that they don't want the people. I think a lot of people can't find the people.
Yeah, exactly. There's no technicians. I mean, we've been trying to find more staff, like, while we're growing, and it's really, really difficult to find like people qualified and, experienced technicians who know what they're doing.
Yeah. David?
I think digital dentures. I think that's the next huge thing that's gonna hit.
It's gonna blow up.
It's the buzz. Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be something that's going to be upon us.
Yeah, I think it's like you said before. I think it still needs a little refinement, but I don't think it's far away from being kind of a mainstream thing, right?
No. And and again, I think the communication tools between the lab and the dentist are going to get better and better and better digitally too. Yeah. Because now, they can even send a scan to Graz directly when the patient's there.
Is that right?
Say, hey, you need to take a bit out the back of that. That's not quite right. You need to round this off a little bit before you go ahead and you take that scan. Because once you take the scan, if that's wrong, then so there's going to be a lot of that.
You got to get the patient back in. Yeah, that's really cool that you can do that in real time.
Yeah, we actually do have one client who's doing that already. She sends a scan and give me a call and say, Grace, can you have a look? Can you see the margins? Do you want me to redo it or to just have a look? So I can quickly just log in and have a look at the scan and say, okay, well, we're good to go. Or no, actually the margin on there and there is not clear. Can you just rescan that area? So we kind of communicate in a real time.
That is really smart.
When the patient is still in the chair. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah, just to say, and I would do that. Like if I were number one, if I were new to scanning, or if I was like, if I was in any way unsure, if I could call you and say, hey, I can't see the margin 100% on this. Like, have I given you enough to work with there? And for you to look at something in real time and go, yeah, you know what, we're good here. I think we're going to be able to make this. I think that gives the dentist a lot of peace of mind, right?
Oh gosh, yeah. And us as well, because then we don't have to call them and say, look, we can't see the margins. Can you retake it? Because that would just delay the case.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, it's amazing how digital is just taking efficiency to a whole new level in this industry. So very cool. I love what you guys are doing. Is there anything I haven't covered today that you guys want to tell me about with Frontier?
Well, I think for me, like we've gone through, it's the communication. There's no misunderstanding, and I have a little story I'd like to share with you.
Absolutely, I love stories.
And it's I
wish we had a pint that we're having while you could be telling me this story, though, David.
I know, me too as well. I have a mug of tea, but that's
as much as it is. This is my pint right here.
But like my dad, he was a dentist, and you know, I was born really into dentistry. My dad was a dentist, my granddad was a dentist, and they had a practice in a very small mining village called Ashington, and it had a population then of probably about maybe 30. No, I would say 13 to 15,000 people. And most of them were coal miners, right? And this is a true story, by the way, because we used to live in a small house next to my dad's practice. And there was one day my dad told me that he had this patient come in, this coal miner, and in those days there was nothing digital, everything was written down. So he's going through the inspection of the patient, you know, the sort of checking of his mouth, and he's talking to his nurse, and he says, number 26 MO, number 25 DO, 26 MO, 36 MO DO, and he gets through it, and his nurse is chanting it all, and he stops, and the patient says to him, Mr. Board, what's all that MO and DO stuff that you're doing? But Dad says, well, it's just a way I communicate with the nurse, just to tell her what your teeth are looking like and all that type of stuff. And now you have a distal occlusal in that tooth, a mesial occlusal in that tooth. Patient goes, thank goodness for that, Mr. Bird. I thought it meant definitely out and maybe's out. That's a true story.
That one can stay. That one's got to go. That one's definitely got to go. Oh, that's a brilliant story.
You gotta have some fun. And I tell you what, there must be some funny stories out there in dentistry. You know, like why don't we spread them around a bit more and you know, get, especially the times at the moment, right?
Yeah, we could definitely use a little more levity in this during these times, man. It's even like we talk about the change in digital. I mean, look at this, the COVID change now, right? I mean, I have this amazing studio that I get to shoot my podcasts in with Mark, but you know, here I am in this echoey office, which is not ideal, but you know, it's COVID times and we've all had to adapt and change. So it's what like in terms of COVID and the practice, have you guys seen a lot of change there? And I mean, obviously we're seeing the protocol stuff, but does it impacted the workflow for you guys at all?
Well, I believe dentist needs to have a limited patients per day, because you can't have more than, let's say, 2 people in a waiting room at the same time. So they have to kind of do appointments, which kind of can affect us as well, because if they have less work, then we have less work, right? And we obviously have to keep up with all the restrictions as well. When the patients come here for shade taking, we need to make sure that, you know, in a shade taking room, there's only one person apart from the patient, and it's kind of, you know, following all the rules and regulations. It's you know, we have to stay on top of that. Yeah. And I guess like, and I've heard the feedback is that they have to do more because they're limited on how many patients they can see. So they're almost doing more dentistry in that hour that they have with them. Yeah. So there's more coming through, but it's also like, well, it's tougher because you're not seeing the patient on as regular a basis, right? So, and I think a lot of people are still pretty nervous to come back in to see the dentist, and we're obviously, everyone that's in dental is you know, doing the best we can to educate and make sure everyone knows that dentistry is safe. It's one of the safest environments you can be in. Go see your dentist, get a checkup done. Don't put off seeing your dentist because it's important. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I have one last question for you guys, and this is a serious one, okay? Mm-hmm. Is a hot dog a sandwich? No. David, what's your take?
Yes, it is.
What?
We've got a no and a yes.
It's an elongated sandwich.
It is a sandwich. Graz, you're like, definitely not.
Definitely not a sandwich. Do you know what definition of sandwich is?
No, what is it?
It's 2 pieces of bread, not a bun.
Right.
But you know, McDonald's, I think they do call some of their burgers sandwiches, don't they?
That's why I don't eat at McDonald's.
Okay, so because they're confused with their vernacular. They don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what they're talking about.
We get that question a lot, and I do say, sorry, we get that question just for fun at the end. And I sorry, David, I'm with Graz on this one. I just say that a hot dog is not a sandwich because it doesn't have a crust.
Oh, right.
That's why I say it.
That's right. Now, my mum used to cut all the crusts off my sandwiches.
Well, that's your excuse. That's fine.
Well, you had a better upbringing than me then, didn't you?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
Just kidding. My mom was great.
Yeah, yeah. And
yeah.
what if here's another one. If there were no sea sponges, would the oceans be deeper?
Yeah, that's you know what? We can ask my 12-year-old son that because he's a SpongeBob fan.
Right. Okay, yeah.
He might be the expert on this.
They were an expert, yeah.
I'm gonna write that question down. I'm gonna ask him when he gets home from school.
Yeah, ask him. He'll know that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, you guys. That's all I got for you.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us, and it's been a real pleasure to do this. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have you guys on again in the future, and David, you and I will have to hop on the bike. It looks like we said, I think we're starting to see a few raindrops here, but I'm thinking in the next week or two we'll get back on the bike, and I'll have to keep up with you. I'll try.
Hey, you're looking great. How much weight have you lost?
I've lost 30 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
You're awesome, mate.
Well, thank you. You know, it was one of those things where I just kind of woke up one day and I said, you know, I've really let myself go. And that was it. I just said, you know what, I'm not gonna let myself go anymore. And then I actually, you know what it was? I have a friend of mine who's a dentist, Jordan Turton. He's in Cloverdale. Great guy. We've become friends over the last few years. And I was kind of lamenting to him, and I said, you know, I'm like, oh, look at this. I'm like, I'm just a big butterball. And he said, you know, Ty, there's a gym in Cloverdale. And he says, I know you're in Walnut Grove. I know you're a little bit far from it. But he says, check them out. Come in, talk to the trainer. And the trainer's name is Ola. And it's called Ola Fit for Life. And I believe it's a franchise type of operation. But Ola is the main guy there. And he said, no, come in. And I said, well, I'm like, I don't want the hard sell, man. Like, I'm not a hard sell. Like, I'm a sales guy. We can smell the hard sell coming a mile away. And Jordan says, no, just come in, talk to him. And he says, if you want it, do it. If you don't, you don't. He's like, you're going to know whether one way or the other, whether you want to do this or not, because this guy is like, either you're doing it or you're not. So I went and I met with him, and I immediately loved the guy. Like, he's got this. And you know what was smart about what he did? He sat me down and he told me his story. He said, let me tell you about Ola Fit for Life. And he said, I came from a small town in Nigeria. I didn't have a lot. I found my way to Canada, and I worked at a gym, and I saved up enough money to finally open my own gym one day. And in telling me that story, I got a real sense of his passion for fitness. And, you know, he's a bodybuilder. This guy's like the real deal. Like, he's a bodybuilder. Like, he's just absolutely ripped. He's huge. If you want someone to train you, this would be the guy. But it wasn't really the fact that he was this bodybuilder and he was like in immense shape. It was his story that got me. It was this really inspiring story of a guy who really kind of had nothing and came to Canada and made something of himself. And I'm watching every day. He comes to the gym at like 4 a.m. and he's working out, and he knows every single one of his clients on a first name basis. Obviously, he's very strict about COVID protocol. But he's also very strict about, like, if you're going to do this, do it. Like, don't half-ass it, man. Like, let's get you in shape. If you want to do it, I'll get you there. But you got to follow the rules. You got to follow what I tell you. Otherwise, I'm not interested in training you. So he says, you go home, think about it, talk about it with your wife. It's going to be a commitment. And if you're committed, I'll get you there. So I went home and I thought about it, and I said, you know, geez, you know, he's 15 minutes down the road. It's a little bit far for me. I don't like that. But I said, I really like this guy's story. So I started training back in August, and he said, Tyler, the first thing he said, great, I'm excited you're going to join. He said, now the first thing I got to get 30 pounds of fat off you. He's like, you're 30 pounds overweight. I got to get it off you. So it was really hard at the beginning, but now from August to now, it's been this transition. It's been, I literally go to bed at night, and I look forward to getting up at the ungodly hour of 4:30 to go to the gym for 5, because that's my hour. It's my alone time. It's my time to think about what I'm going to do that day. And I get like, I bust my ass at the gym and I go for it. And then he's there and he's like, hey man, keep going. You're doing a great job. He's there every single day reminding me what a good job I'm doing. And the guy is absolutely lights out. So I owe it to Jordan for introducing me to the guy, and to Ola. If you really want to get in shape, I know we're not talking about fitness, but Ola, he's my guy. Like, I want him to train me for the rest of my life. I'm going to be involved with him on some level at some point for the rest of my life. He's going to keep me in shape. That's why they call it Ola Fit for Life. I really feel like I'm going to be one of his clients for forever. Cause he's like,
Yeah.
if you need to dial it back and take a break, fine. But he's like, I'm still going to be on you, making sure that you're living a healthy lifestyle, which totally resonates for me. So
Mhm.
kind of a long story, but that's kind of
No.
my health and fitness story.
So has he given you, diet sheets and all that type of stuff to watch your food, watch your diet, as well as the exercise?
You know what? It's great because I sort of came into it and I said, look, I'm not one of those guys. I don't have a ton of money to spend on like a personal trainer every week or whatever. And I said, so like the first concern for me was the price tag, right? I was like, I'm not a personal trainer kind of guy. Like I can't afford this. But he was like, okay, well, we'll build a plan for you. And then that you can afford. And so we put a plan together. But yeah, like you say, David, in that plan, it was a dietary plan as well. So I know what I'm eating every day, and it's great because they have a little software app. So you know what time you're working out, you know what you're eating that day. It's a challenge. So when I was trying to get that initial weight off, it was really hard because I was like eating a lot of chicken, a lot of rice, a lot of salad, and it was like, ugh, it wasn't great. But Katrina and I both agreed. She's like, look, you're committed to this goal. She's like, I hate watching what you're reading. I don't like that. But she's like, I understand what you're doing. So again, it was a commitment to it. Now that I'm like 6 or 8 months into it, I can kind of eat what I want as long as I'm kind of staying within that. Like, I don't really like to count calories. No one wants to do that. But I kind of know after watching calories for a few months, I know that what I'm eating, I can kind of guesstimate how many calories that thing that I'm eating is. And I know, right? Like once or twice a week, I'll get a pizza or I'll have, I don't eat McDonald's, but like I'll eat something that I know is not part of my diet. And I'll go, okay, well, that's my 1 or 2 for the week. Chocolate cake or beer or whatever. Like beer is a different struggle for me because I love beer and I drink it often. But I know roughly in the back of my mind what type of calorie intake I'm bringing in, and knowing it in the back of my head is a lot easier than me counting calories. I don't like. And he said that he's like, look, if you count calories, you're going to drive yourself nuts. Don't do that. Understand what each meal you're eating is. Eat often. And just have in the back of your mind, okay, this is like 200 calories. Cool. I kind of know what that is. And then throughout the day, if you're putting on weight, you'll know, okay, I'm taking in too many calories. Let me just reset the dials at the start of the week and make sure I know what calories I'm bringing in. And as long as you're busting your butt at the gym, like minimum 3 times a week, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I can see you getting back in the movies again. The Baywatch 4.
How did you know?
Another shorts when you get your all oiled up on the beach.
That's right. I'll get the baby oil going, and they'll be like, wow, that. I'll go with no tan. They'll be like, that guy's like frog belly white. That is the whitest white man we've ever seen. Because when I don't tan, it is, or when I don't have sun on me, I go a different shade of pale. That's why I call it frog belly white, because like I'm beyond pale. I'm that Irish pale. And no one likes the Irish pale.
That's right. Hey, Tyler, have you been down to Fort Langley recently?
I have. I've been down. Well, I rode with Michael, and I was there yesterday. Actually, they had the street blocked off, and they had this big green screen. It must have been like, I don't know, probably about 30 yards long, blocking off the whole street. So they got a green screen and they got army tanks. Yeah. Yeah,
it was unbelievable. I was down there yesterday morning as well. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's really cool. They were doing Go ahead, I'm interrupting you.
No, I was going to say they've built a coffee shop, a full-on coffee shop with bricks and everything on the corner there.
Yeah.
And there's something bean, it's called or whatever. And they were shooting there, and as you said, they have the tanks. They got a helicopter there.
Yeah.
Unbelievable budget.
Well,
and then I went to get a cup of and all the coffee shops, they're all in there. All the people working in the movies. Nobody's paying for anything. So obviously they just get coffee and they put them on an account and it gets settled afterwards.
Right. Right. That's brilliant. So you can just say, you should just steal one of their walkie-talkies and say, I'm with the show.
Yes, that's right.
Order yourself a really expensive coffee.
Yeah, that's
right. But I was driving through there yesterday and they had, I saw all this smoke coming out and I was like, oh, is there something on fire? What's going on? So and I was driving through, but they detoured me around because I was trying to get up to 96 and get back up to my place. So I detoured around, and then of course I looked to the left and I saw this big green screen, and man, they had the tank go on, and they had I think they had like a machine gun fight or something. Like it was a full on action scene.
It was full on. Yeah. And they also had the road. It looked like it was all blown up. Yeah. Had big piles of road the other way and upside down, and it was amazing what they were doing. Cool. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see that movie when it comes out.
Yeah, you might see me on the screen in the near future. You never know.
Well,
we'll keep that under wraps for now.
That would be awesome to see on the screen again. Awesome, awesome. I come and watch all your movies. I'd be the number one in your fan club.
You'd be like, well, I can't act, but I know him.
You've done quite a few movies, though, haven't you? How many movies?
Graz, just to bring you up to speed. So I was an actor before I got into dental.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't recognize you. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's okay. It was a long time ago. I was a very obscure, unknown actor. But yeah, you know what? It was a good thing going I did it until about 2012, and then I got into dental, and I said, you know what? I don't need the acting thing anymore. Dental's really sort of stolen my heart, and then I'm going to hint to it. It's there might be some stuff happening in the background, but I have to do it on evenings and weekends.
So what movies were you in?
Keep that quiet.
Oh man, what movies were? Yeah, movies I was in. If you rent one called Love Happens, you'll see me in that one.
Love Happens. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard about it.
Jennifer Aniston and Aaron Eckhart were in that one, and then there's a lot of stuff that I got cast in. That like Watchmen is one, for example, where I had lines, but then you don't hear me saying my lines because they all kind of cut the line parts out. So I just kind of show up and then I disappear. That's one where I was in Watchmen. It was a Zack Snyder movie, which was exciting. So, of course, myself and all my college buddies, because I went to theater school. So a bunch of us went to the theater to watch Watchmen, because, Tyler's in Watchmen, so we got to go watch it. And it was the first lesson I learned to not tell your friends you're in something, because we're all in the movie theater, eating our popcorn, getting ready for my scene to come up. And literally I came on screen for like 1 second and then I disappeared. So it was disappointing to say the least, but that's happened on a few times. Like that happened. And then I was in Underworld and I made the mistake of telling friends and family. And then of course they cut my scene. I'm not even in the movie. So that does happen more often than you'd think.
But then a lot of commercial work you did. You did a lot of commercials, didn't you?
Yeah, I did I did an Amstel Light commercial. I did Honda commercials. I did one Tim Hortons commercial, which aired coast to coast. So it was on every commercial break throughout the day. You just see, like, it was literally my face plastered on the TV, drinking a cappuccino or whatever. And it was funny because we'd get calls from people all across the country. They'd be like, "Tyler's on TV. Like, all I see is his face right now." And it was pretty fun because it was just in Canada that people saw it. But that lasted for about, I'd say 2 or 3 months, where people were like, "I keep seeing you on TV. It's so cool." And then it went away. That was my claim to fame. That was it.
Yeah.
Good times.
Oh, well, good luck with what you're thinking about. Good luck.
Yes, thank you guys. All right, cool. So I'll let you back to your day. I know we've talked a little bit about my health and fitness and stuff too. So thank you for humoring me on that.
No, hey, look great though. Well done. Congratulations. Thanks, awesome. David. Good stuff.
David Graz, it was great to talk to you, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, we'll do, Tyler.
Okay. Great. Talk to you soon.
Hey, Graz.